FYVE is a mobile phone music distribution app allowing music makers and creators to upload their music from their smartphones without having to submit tons and tons of paperwork and music through label services. This is set to be launched in June 2021. Now, this is a game changer, no doubt, as there's currently no mobile distribution app that services the African independent music market. Project founder and CEO J.R. Bogopa joins me now to share more. J.R., a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's good to have you on the show this morning, J.R. Now, the launch of FYVE certainly is a big disruptive turning point in the African music landscape. So how would it work?
Well, essentially, what FYVE would do is creators would be able to upload their music, their artworks, all the songs they've made via their cell phones. They no longer have to be making calls to different labels, etc., submitting paperwork. Everything will be done from your smartphone and easily, and at the press of one button, you're ready to launch across the globe to more than 39 stores, including your Apple Music, your Spotify, etc.
Yeah, it certainly is a disruptive innovation. What really inspired this app, JR?
I've been coming from a music background myself. I mean, I've been a musician for over 30 years now. And, you know, the idea of it is trying to make music distribution as natural as making music itself. It's been a very challenging time for a lot of musicians throughout the COVID period. But what we did see is there was a large influx in music creation, a big influx as well to how many people are creating music, etc. And mind you, a lot of people have access to laptops, especially in Africa, to computers or desktops, but people do have a smartphone. We've got the world's fastest growing smartphone industry. And looking at that, you know, why not give people the capabilities to be able to use the smartphone functionalities to better their careers, to build their careers and futures. So based off of that, it now sparked the idea of creating FYVE, which is Africa's first smartphone, mobile phone distribution platform.
Generally, what is a good distribution deal that artists could negotiate?
I mean, essentially, deals differ for different artists. On distribution, you know, a lot of people would probably talk an 80-20 deal in favor of the artist. Some of them would be a 70-30 or 50-50. It just depends. With FYVE, what we're trying to do is give artists and creators clear transparency. So they'll be able to upload, see how much money they're making from which stores. They'll be able to have full transparency at a touch of a button as to this is how much I've got in my kitty, and they can withdraw the money themselves. We've got commercial agreements in place with various banks, and we can distribute, or artists and creators can withdraw money into their own specific bank accounts, regardless which bank they bank with. And soon, in a couple of weeks' time, they'll be able to transact Forex as well throughout all the banks on the continent. You'll be able to withdraw directly to your bank account. So that's what we're trying to do is create pure transparency, give artists and creators access to analytics, statistics, and financial revenue to show them this is how hard you're working, this is what your music is worth, and if you want to access your money, withdraw it at a touch of a button.
So how do artists get paid for their music?
It would be different in different aspects. It would go through different collection societies such as your Samros and your Sampras, your Capathos, etc., who would then be responsible for paying you based on your publishing or your copyright, your mechanical royalties, etc. So artists have various ways of making music. When you guys at the SABC play the music, you guys there is the license that you guys have that you do pay to Samro, etc., for them to be able to pay the artists. Radio stations alike apply the same mentality. So from that, we do, and again, we understand that from that, there is an avenue of making your revenue as an artist from those platforms. Alternative platforms, or like the most common platforms that we know are streaming platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, etc. They also pay the artists off of that for streams. So they will pay an artist a portion per stream. So it's no longer calculated on a sale, it's now calculated on a stream.
And since this is an African music distribution app, JR, does it accommodate foreign currency? I mean, how will payouts work in this particular instance?
Well, because we know that we live as Africans and as individuals, we live as part of a global community. And in this global village, we need to be transacting in probably what is the most stable currency in the world. So we will transact and people will be able to withdraw their money at foreign currency, but into rand conversion. So we do want artists to realize that they are playing at a global level, that the world is looking at Africa. So everything we're going to be doing is going to be at a global scale. So we are looking at, and we will be doing foreign currency transactions. You can pay in whatever currency. Right now, the launch of the app will be in South Africa. That's where we're going to start off, with our next phase of it being to East and West Africa. So if you're in South Africa, you'll be able to pay for it in rand value. And it's a once-off cost. We don't repeat the cost. It's no subscription cost. You pay once-off to use the service. To upload a single, you pay 59 rand, and that's it. And you can upload the single. Your single will exist and continue to make revenue for you on all these stores in perpetuity. And that's what I think is a great thing about it, is that we're not saying every year you need to pay, this is how much we're going to take, etc. We're saying you can use the service. This is the cost of the service at 59 rand for a single. You pay that, you release your single, and then you can withdraw your monies at any point.
And how do artists register? And since this is a new app, how many will you be taking in?
I mean, we are taking in unlimited amounts of artists. We're breaking the barrier. We're not saying, no, we want to sign guys who are good. We're not a record label. We're not signing anybody. We're giving artists an opportunity to be able to have an even playing ground when it comes to competing with the artists who are already more established. We do know that there's a large influx of artists. There's big artists who are coming out everywhere around the world. And for you as a South African artist to compete at that level, you need to have the frequency of release that other artists who are signed to other labels will have. And I think in this regard, that's what FYVE is trying to do. We're trying to step away from the normal way of it being done and saying we're going to gatekeep and only allow access to a specific few, and actually say we're opening up access to everybody who is a music maker, music creator, who is struggling to get their music out there, to be able to reach the world. What we do know as well is that 604 the independent artists, the independent music scene is a big scene globally, with about $643 million generated in 2018, which is a leap from 2017 at 35%. So what we do know is that there is a market for independent creators. There are independent creators in South Africa right now. The biggest hit makers are independent creators in the Mapiano scene, and those people need to have the right to have their music and exploit it, or send it out, disseminate it as easily as possible, and get their fans to listen to it as easy as possible too.
JR, I would imagine so many artists, especially the budding and the up-and-coming artists who don't necessarily have the means and the resources to take their music through record labels, they would have so many unanswered questions as to does this app perhaps distribute the final product or the fine-tuned music?
So essentially, you'd be creating your music from a studio. The app is on your phone, like an Instagram, like a Twitter, like whatever. You just open the app, upload your artwork, send your music out there. Every track will have to be completed. The system is designed to be purely autonomous. It's designed to give the artists, or the creator rather, the power to take the power and have the power in their hands. So they'll be able to do everything. Another unique factor about FYVE is we're the first platform to be able to edit your release, whether it's in review in the app or whether it's in the app store. In the stores like Apple Music. So for instance, if you spell my name wrong, RJ instead of JR, typically you'd have to send a letter. Typically you'd have to take the song down, re-upload it. With FYVE, you can edit that title in the app. You just go into the app, you edit it, say I spelled it wrong, you resubmit it, it'll change on the different stores across the board. So those are the things that we're offering. We understand that we're dealing with artists who might not have the high level knowledge that people have had who are in the music industry, who've been in the music industry for 50 years. So there is a big orientation and educational gap that needs to exist, that needs to be covered, and we as FYVE are willing to do that. So there's a lot that's going to be a first for us. You'll be able to distribute ringback tones as well. So once you submit your music for Apple Music or for all the stores, you'd be able to then at the same time send your music out as a ringback tone or a RBT for shortened version. So we're trying to cover as much ground for independent creators as possible.
Brilliant initiative and innovation. This is JR. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you very much. We look forward to launching FYVE on the 1st of June. And we hope that every independent creator uptakes and, joins the platform so we can be able to create more music and bring the world to us. So thanks very much for your time.
And for more information about this app, where can people access it?
For more information about the app, they can send an email to info@FYVEapp, that's FYVE, app.co.za. It is launching on all app stores, Google Play Store, the App Store, Apple App Store on the 1st of June. So they will be able to download it there. And once they have that, they'll just release as much music whenever they want as they want.
All right. Great chatting to you, JR. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Project founder and CEO JR Bogopa says the launch of FYVE is a big disruptive turning point in the African music landscape, allowing every artist to distribute music from their cell phones.